Hello, and welcome to this episode of Be the Wolf. Today, I want to talk to you about the infinite game. Now, a lot of us are playing life like there's a finish line. And I know for me, I did that most of my life. And there are reasons for it, which I'll get into, and there may be similar reasons for you. But if you struggle with like go, 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 and then crashing and burning, you're going to want to listen to this episode. If you have a tendency to really push yourself beyond and beyond and beyond, you're going to want to listen to this episode because there are some things I'm going to talk about that are going to perhaps change the way you think about how you're moving through life. Okay, so I just got back from hiking to Everest Base Camp. And in the Himalayan mountains, the altitude is high. I mean, we're talking like minimum at 10,000 feet. And for a lot of people, they start getting sick at 10,000 feet. And there's a thing that happens when you're hiking in altitude. You have to move in a different way. You can't go, 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 go and expect that you will get the results that you're looking for. Now, I went knowing that I had to play a long game in this. And I went with the idea of I'm going to have a slow and steady pace. I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to like give it my all. I'm going to do it differently. And so, in my work in general, with my clients and with myself, I've been working on creating a steady, even pace instead of this like go, 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 and then crash, go, 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 and crash. Hold it back, hold it back, hold it back until you can't take it anymore, and then go, go, go. Um, so there's most of us are running patterns like that. It's like we restrict and then we binge. We go, 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 and then we crash. There's just this yo-yoing back and forth, back and forth. And, people who are talking about productivity and having success in your business, they always say one thing: consistency. Consistency is the key to getting what you want. And it's the key to getting what you want, but you've got to be consistent in doing the things that will lead you to where you want. If you want to go from point A to point B, you've got to take steps consistently towards the point B direction. But a lot of us aren't doing it that way. We are, restrict and binge. We are like go, 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 and then stop. And so as I was hiking to Everest Base Camp, I was reminded of the tortoise and the hare. So I made the conscious decision that I am going to use this physical activity that's really fucking hard to land that slow and steady, consistent pace into my body. I didn't want to take a lot of rests. I wanted to keep at a pace that I can maintain throughout the entire day and throughout the entire hike. And I did that. And, surprise, surprise, I was pretty much the last person in the group for the first few days. And I just decided it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. I'm going to keep with my slow and steady pace. And right, this is the same in business. It's like everybody is doing all these things and it seems like they're getting there faster. But what do you need to do to play the infinite game, to be in it for the long haul, is stay with your steady, consistent pace with what you're working on. And not like, oh, I got to go over here because this person went over here. I got to go over here because they're doing it this way. I got to do it this way. That shit does not serve you. And so while hiking in the Himalayas at altitude, everybody got to learn these lessons. It was really interesting. So some of the people in the group, they were like, oh, I'm going to push through. And, this how they do it. They push through and they power through. And I've done that plenty in my life. like, oh, we have this deadline. I'm going to push through and I'm going to power through and I'm going to make it. And then what happens? The crash and burn. So a few people in the group, they were like, yeah, going fast, going fast. Oh, oh, oh. And sure enough, after a couple of days, they crashed and burned. And I was like at my slow and steady pace. And it was hard, but I was staying consistent. And instead of pushing and going really fast and then stopping and resting, pushing and going really fast and stopping and resting, I was going at a pace where I could maintain the pace and I didn't need to rest. And in fact, I didn't even like to rest because what happened, like, as you start to get your steady pace and your momentum, there becomes a bit of a momentum. And so if you stop and rest, you have to build back up to that momentum again. It's like if the wheel is already turning, it's easy to keep it going. You just got to tap it a little bit and it can keep going. Versus if you stop it and then you got to use all this force again to get it going. And so I think about for me in business in the past, it would be like, oh, I just signed a bunch of clients. And then I would take the foot off the gas and I would quote rest. I would rest and be like, well, everything's fine. I don't need to do anything. But here's the thing, if I had continued to keep the foot on the gas, I would have continued with that momentum. And now, sometimes back in those days, it would be like a push. Oh, I got to scramble and get some clients and then take the foot off the gas. But what would have happened if I had just kept a slow and steady pace? No scrambling, just that steady pace to get and move forward. Not about reaching a finish line. And this is the thing, everybody's so concerned about reaching the finish line. But life and business, there are no finish lines, and relationships, there are no finish lines. It's about being in it, about being present, and about moving at a pace that you can maintain who you are without depleting and detrimenting yourself. So, um, the first couple of days, I was the last person in the trail hike. Like everybody was ahead of me, and I was steady, slow pace. There was one other person that was sometimes behind me, um, and they didn't train at all, but they were also operating with that slow and steady pace, especially because they didn't train. That was the best way for them to move forward. And so after a couple of days, some of the people who had been really pushing fast began to crash and began to really feel the altitude. Now, in altitude, if you go at a slower pace, your body will acclimate to the altitude as you're rising altitude because the air gets thinner and your body needs to adjust to that altitude. And so, because some people went really fast, their body rebelled. And there's this saying out there is that attitude and altitude don't mix. But we are operating in general, most of us are operating as if there is no altitude. We are just moving, 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 going, going, going. We're pushing through and we're not recognizing the crashes. And I mean, sometimes we are recognizing the crashes because they're really hard, but we're not recognizing that there's this stop, go thing that's happening. And while I was hiking in the Himalayas, I really began to understand the benefits of that steady pace. Like maybe you're not going to do it as fast. Maybe someone will get to point A faster than you, but they're going to stop and rest, but you're going to continue with your pace. And by the time they're done resting, you've moved ahead of them. So after a few days, funny enough, I ended up with my slow and steady pace, same pace, ended up being more towards the front of the line, more with the people who were arriving to the next destination faster. And so hiking in the Himalayas, hiking at altitude, it's very much like life, right? There's a resistance, there's things that come up, but how are you going to move through it? Are you going to push, push, push? Or are you going to just move at a steady pace so that you can pivot and adjust and acclimate with each step? Now, as we got higher and higher, I was doing better than most everybody as far as the altitude, dealing with the altitude. And my body was, I didn't have really any headaches, maybe a slight headache for a little while, but lots of people were having to take ibuprofen the whole time because the headaches were so bad. But here's the funny thing. I have set big goals in my life and I've reached them. And I've reached them when I decided, when I was very clearly decided that I was going to do that thing. But this one, I was very decided I was going to make it to Everest Base Camp. But sometimes things happen. So it's about day 6, day 7. And again, for the most part, I had been doing better than everybody else with altitude. My slow and steady pace was actually inspiring others to follow suit and do the slow and steady pace. And but I woke up on day 7, my breath was a little bit short. I was starting to really feel the altitude. And we went and we did our first hike. That day we were to get to Everest Base Camp. We were going to do a 2-hour hike, which ended up being about 3 hours. And then we were going to rest at the tea house and then do a 2-hour hike to Everest Base Camp and then back to the tea house. So, and we did the first hike, 3 hours. We got to see the beautiful memorials of all the people who have lost their life in those mountains. Lots and lots of climbers. The altitude is unforgiving, can be unforgiving. And then there's other things like snow avalanches and things like that. So a lot of people don't make it out. And, I stayed with my slow and steady pace, even though it was much harder on this day. And we get to the tea house and I'm so exhausted. All I want to do is sleep. And I lie down to take a little nap before we go to Everest Base Camp. And I'm just sitting there realizing, oh my God, I don't think that I can actually go forward. I don't think that I should go to base camp. Now, in the past, what I would do, I made this goal. I am for sure going to do it. I would have pushed through. Like I could have pushed through in theory. Like I felt like based on the past, I could have pushed my body and gotten to Everest Base Camp. Now, I was also thinking about the fact that there would be another 2 hours back. And at that point, we would have been hiking 6, 7, 8 hours that day. But my body was like, no. And like I said, in the past, I would have pushed through because I had that goal. I was going to do it. I said I was going to do it. I have to be true to my word. There's another saying one of my mentors says. He says, you're either humble or about to be. In the Himalayan mountains, and the hike to Everest Base Camp with all that altitude is definitely going to humble you. If you thought you were like the bee's knees and if you thought you were the shit, those mountains are going to humble you and let you know exactly where you really stand in the grand scheme of life and the grand scheme of nature. And so as I lie there thinking like, God, should I go? Should I not go? I made the decision to not go. And it was really hard for me to make that decision. It was really hard. Let me clarify. It was really hard for me to listen to my body and not push it beyond what was healthy for it. Because in the past, in business, right? Push, oh, deadline, 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 push, 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 push my body, doesn't matter. Detriment to self, doesn't matter how depleted I'm going to be after, just keep going. In relationship, oh, there's a problem. I got to scramble, 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 push and bend over backwards, compromise myself so that I can make sure this relationship is okay, that we're on okay, like steady ground. Doesn't matter that I'm unsteady in my ground. And that's how I operated my whole life. And some of you probably can relate. And so I made the decision to not go. And we decided that, oh, okay, I'll rest. And in the morning, the one Sherpa would take me, Tenzing would take me to base camp. Everybody else would do the lookout point. And then we'd meet up with them later. And I was like, great. Because I thought for sure, my body would recover after a good night's sleep. So I went to sleep. Everyone went to base camp. And when they came back, they came to check on me. And I had gotten sick. I had thrown up. I had diarrhea. Sorry if that's TMI for anybody. But I had gotten really sick. And I felt really, really bad. The last time I can remember feeling that bad, I had a temperature of 104.5. I also had a fever, low grade fever, definitely not 104.5, but I definitely felt at least as bad as when I had had a fever of 104.5 for 2.5 days. So here I am. And they come and Tenzing puts the oxygen monitor on my finger and my oxygen level is 62. I am officially in danger. Altitude sickness and oxygen level of 62. And if you've ever been to the doctor and they put the little oxygen monitor on your finger, they want your oxygen to be like 97, 98, no lower than 90. If you're in the 80s, they're like, oh, now at altitude, nobody's concerned if your oxygen level's in the 80s. Even if it's in the high 70s, they're like, oh, you're fine, you're fine. But into the low 70s and into the 60s, it becomes dangerous, like for real dangerous. So I get an oxygen tank and later the doctor comes, not a great doctor, wants to pump me up with antibiotics. I'd been sucking on oxygen for 3 hours. So my oxygen level is like 77. She's like, you don't need oxygen. You're not altitude sickness, blah, blah, blah. And then she leaves. And a couple hours later, my oxygen levels drop down to the low 60s again. So more oxygen. And then I helicopter out in the morning. So yes, I was humbled. But this is the thing. I'm so proud of the way I showed up in that trek because I showed up in a way that sets one up for the infinite game of life, right? Business, relationship, your health. It's all an infinite game. There is no finish. A lot of us operate like, oh, when I get to this point, once I weigh this, then I'll be great. Once I have this many clients or reach this amount of revenue, then I'll be great. Once I have the relationship, once I get married, then I'll be great. And we take the foot off the gas. We take the foot off our consistent, steady pace of what we have done to actually build and create that thing, build and create the relationship, build and create the good health, build and create the business. And so the way I showed up, slow, steady, even consistent pace. And then I listened to my body when it was saying no more. And that was huge because in our life, if we are going to survive the infinite game, if we're going to be successful at the infinite game, and sometimes we're going to be low, sometimes we're going to be high, but what matters is that we keep that pace going. And if there becomes a detriment to self, where you are depleting yourself, where you are no longer in harmony with your well-being, then it's time to step back and readjust because you cannot continue to play the infinite game if you are out of harmony. And most of us are honestly are operating out of harmony. We're running to this finish line like it is life and death. And most of us aren't in life and death situations. Most of us are perfectly safe, but yet our nervous system and our mind is still operating as if we are in danger, right? Slow and steady pace. There's nothing to rush to. I'm going to enjoy every moment. I'm going to take every breath. I'm going to breathe in and observe the beauty of what is around me. I'm going to experience life as I'm living. I'm not waiting till when I get somewhere to actually experience life. And when we're talking about the long game, which is business, which is health, which is relationship, we've got to operate as if we are okay right now and take a slow, steady pace. And maybe your pace gets faster over time, but consistency, ease. It's not like consistency, like, oh, I have to be so consistent. No, how do you do it with ease? How do you do it with play? How do you do it with joy? How do you do it with fun? Because this is what the infinite game is about. If we're going to be suffering every step of that steady pace, what's the fucking point? Right? Everybody's running to this finish line because they think it's the end of the suffering. The end of the suffering is when you choose to move in a way that's not full of pain. How do you take the steps forward in your life towards the things that you truly want in a way that is not full of pain? So the beautiful thing about Mount Everest, and that's the beautiful thing about doing hard things that push you physically, is you get the opportunity to practice physically what you're trying to implement in your life everywhere else. One of my other mentors says, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And this is true, right? The people who raced ahead and crashed, it's very much how they do everything. This like push and pull and push and pull. And it used to be how I did everything. And because I've been working on that steady, consistent thing, it was easier for me to put that into practice. But that act of putting it into practice in such a tough environment really showed me that that is the way to play the infinite game. Because taking the oxygen out of the air will take that edge of what you're trying to push through away. And then you get to actually really see what's underneath. You get to see how you're operating. So I don't know if doing something like hiking to Everest Base Camp is for you, but perhaps there's something you can do that pushes yourself to operate in a new way that will set you up to play the infinite game at a higher level, at an easier level, at a level that is way more fun. Because as I'm coming back and all of this is integrating, I'm beginning to see I'm more in my body. I'm pausing instead of pushing. And generally speaking, I'm still moving at that steady pace. So even though it may seem like I'm not running and doing as much as some other people, what I am doing is more effective. What I am doing is steady and consistent. And there's no foot on the gas, foot off the gas. So I'm not having to jumpstart my momentum over and over and over again. So these are some of the lessons I learned while hiking to Everest Base Camp about playing the infinite game of life, the infinite game in business, the infinite game in relationship, the infinite game in health, which is the three things that we are most interested in. So I hope you found some value in this. And If you are curious about how to break through some of your stuff in order to play that infinite game at a higher level, reach out to me. I've got events coming up. I've got events in LA, transformational events, and I've got firewalking events in Nashville. So reach out to me and let's do this. Also, freedom calls every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific, which will help you uncover some of the ways that you might be getting in your own way and playing the infinite game at a high level. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And remember, everybody, when you operate from the truth of who you are, from the essence of who you are, humanity evolves. We'll see you next time on Be the Wolf. Bye, everyone.